Please, can you mute yourself?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very
Welcome.
much. Okay. So as I was saying, this click me is a form of JavaScript. So this is how I wrote it inline. Then, but it's not all elements you can write JavaScript inline in. So there are just some few elements you can write JavaScript inline. So this is internal JavaScript, writing it here like this. So what this does is that once you click the button, it will right click in, it will just right click. So let me see that. Let me see.
I was doing my head, my forehead. What the fuck?
See, this is what JavaScript does. JavaScript adds behavior. So as I click this button, it brings up this click. So that's what this internal inline. This is what is calling the function that is causing that click to happen. So this is internal JavaScript. This is the code that is running, that is causing that click to show anytime I click that button. So for external JavaScript, I've created an external file already. So what you need to do is just to create the script tag, and in it there is an attribute. The src attribute is known as the source attribute. Then in the source attribute, you will what do you call it? You put in the link to the JavaScript file that is going to run. So now this is the JavaScript file. So I made a mistake. So let me rename it. That's supposed to script, not script. Script of what I put there. So that's script. So then, but whatever you name your file, it's not a must you must add name. It's not a must you must put script or something. You can name it anything that you can remember, but to help you to name your files better, to name your variable better, you must make sure that this the names are mnemonic. Mnemonic in the sense that the name should relate to what you are doing. Like if I'm building a function that if I click it, it should get a person. You can say get person, something like that. So it should relate to the function it- so that it's easy to understand your code. Okay, so that is all on the variable. That's all I'll talk about. That's all I'll talk about on variable. So the next thing I'm talking about is the data types. So yeah. Okay, so data types. So in JavaScript, these data items that we use are classified into what we call data types. So there are different types of data type. These three I put here are the most common data type you see. Those are the most basic common data types you see. That is the string, boolean. So there are other data types that I did not put in, which are array. That's the arrays, the objects, empty, and also the undefined. So you may be asking that why is there a data type that is empty, while the data type that's undefined. So data type that is but we'll come to that later. So we'll start from strings. So the strings are these string data types are just as string value. They are letters. They can also be numbers, but once they are put once they are put inside these these two apostrophes, once they are put inside the apostrophes, that's the quotes or the quotes symbol. Once they are put inside the quote symbol, they become a string. So it's not only double quotes that can be used, single quotes can be used. So you can create a you can create a string with just single quotes. So a string, your string can also be a long line of text. No matter how long it is, it can still be a string. It can be numbers. Your string, your what do you call it? Your string can be numbers, but to make a number a string, you must put it inside the quote tag. So it can also be can be anything. This is what you can have symbols in your what do you call it, strings. So you can have alphanumeric, alphabets and numbers. So numbers can only be numbers. Yeah. So but there are different types of numbers. There are integers or they are whole numbers, and it can also be decimal. Yeah, this decimal in JavaScript, JavaScript, they are called floats. They are not called decimal, they are called floats. So you say numbers can be floats. Then Boolean has only two values. It's either true or false. Either true or false. So if it's not true, it is false. If it's not false, it is true. It cannot be either, it cannot be neither of those. And it cannot be both of them at the same time. Okay. So coming to array. What is an array? An array is a collection of related related data items. So in an array, you can have strings, numbers, or booleans, but it's just a group of them, a collection of them. So let me demonstrate this out. Mm. So let me create. Let me leave this. We need to focus on this here. So now let me create. Can you all see my code? Let me show.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And hope all of you understand what I've talked about on variable. I'm sorry I did not ask. So hope all of you understand that. Let someone just say yes or no. So that I'll
Yes.
know how I'll okay, thank you. So if you have okay, if you have any questions as I am talking, you can just write them down at the end. Then you can just ask your questions. Okay. So let's continue data items. So we talked about strings, so let me create a string data item. So I'll store it in a variable. So variable let me call it my strings equals to I am a good boy. Then var my number can be what do you call it? Can be what do you call it? 97 1997. So what should I store it in? Var boolean. Var my bool. Let me store it by my bool. Because of okay. So var my bool is let's say true. Let's say that's true. So now let's come to an array. So var my array. I told you that a collection of related data items. Like now, think of an array as a set. You know a set. I'm sure all of you have been taught sets because I know I'm not talking to anybody who is who, who is less than a secondary school student. I'm not talking to anybody less than a secondary school student. So I'm sure you must have heard of sets. So a set is collection of related uh, related data. So like now when you say that you should differentiate, put a more record people that read this newspaper, to people that watch TV, to people that listen to radio. So each have a set. So the people that read newspapers are in one set, people that listen to radios are in another set, people that watch television are in another set. So that is same thing as an array is a collection of different what do you call it, different data items that are related together. For instance, let's say I want to collect um someone's I want to collect info about all the boys, all the boys, all names of boys rather. So I can say names of boys. Let me say name of boys. Name of boys because so like I said, your variables should be mnemonic. So if someone comes there and see the name of boys, the person will know that what is stored here is name of boys. But if I come and just say var, what do you call it? Yeah, this is asset table. I don't know how to pronounce it, Bokasi or something. But this is what they call it. This is asset table. But when you read, when let's say you have written this code and you forget it, I come back and you see this Mbokase, you now be thinking, what is Mbokase? You now have to start reading through everything to understand. Oh, Mbokase is something I just gave to name this variable, something like that. But when you see name like when you see that name of boys, yeah, you say okay, so these are name of boys. Then it will help you to understand clearer if you are just reading it again. So so it's better to write better code. It helps to prevent what they call tech what they call it debts, to prevent all the tech debts. Tech debts are the consequences of your actions that you may not see maybe in the long run or in the short run when you're coding. So if you don't write good codes, when you need to review it or when you need to scale it up or when you need to change one or two things, you have to pay all the debts. You have to rewrite many things, start correcting many things, which will not help you, which will not make you any more productive than if you had written it well at the first place. So coming back to this name of boys, um, so when we want to create an array, we use this, we use the what they call it, the brackets. We don't use curly braces. We use the brackets here. So this is called brackets. So we store our data items inside the brackets. For example, so Femi is the name of a boy. Dakpo is the name of a boy. Sorry, Melvin is the name of a boy. Melvin is the name of a boy. Which other one boy? Feromi is a boy. Tony is a boy. So these are just names of boys. Names of boys, yeah. So names of boys. Yeah. So you can also do names of girls. Let's say you want to collect like items or details. So you can use an array. So an array can also collect different data types at the same time. So in an array, you can have a string, a number, and a boolean at the same time. You can even have arrays of array. You can have arrays of objects. You can have arrays of an array of an array or something like that. So going deeper into front end, like now, there's something called JSON. So when you are working with JSON, you start seeing array of object of array or something like that. So, but now we'll deal with these simple types of array and simple types of objects. So I'm coming down to objects after array. So this you can see that this array has what do you call it, data types of the same, have data items of the same data types rather. This Femi is a string, Dapo is a string, Melvin is a string, Ferom is a string, Tony is a string. Yeah, but you can also have difference. Like now, if I want to say, if I say, let's say Melvin data or something. Let me say Melvin data. Let's say Melvin data. So you can store the name Melvin. Then maybe the age is 19. Maybe the age is, maybe he's a boy or girl. Let's say, is he a boy? If he's a boy, then true. This is a boy. So something like this. So this is also an array, and this works for anything you want to do it. So this is what I was talking about on array. So I'm going to send the link at the end of the class where you will be able to read this in depth. So what I will just do is just to cover the basics, so to create that foundation for you to scale your learning on. Okay, so let's come to objects. Right. So objects, yeah, the object. So what is an object? So an object is a collection of properties of a, what do you call it, properties of a data item. So explaining to explain this object very well, I'm going to have to show you some code. So unlike the array, the objects is stored using the curly brackets. So let's say person equals to, then the curly brackets. And unlike the array, what do you call it, the object is more descriptive. It describes it describes these data items. For example, let me relate back to this Melvin data. You can see this Melvin data. If a random person just look at this Melvin 19 true, they will not really understand what this means, because of they will just see it as three values of a data item that may not or may be linked together. So what the object now does is that it describes this data. It can describe this data more specifically than the array will do. So for instance, here you can set the name as, let's say, Melvin. Yeah, Melvin. Then each descriptions, which are known as properties, are separated by a comma, like this like the array too. So comma, then name, then let's say age. So the age is what, 19. Then is male, or let's say is boy. Then true. So you can see any random person that comes and sees this Melvin and sees this person. So let me change this to Melvin data. So anybody that sees this Melvin data will understand it than anybody that sees this Melvin data. So one thing, please can you mute your mic? Who is the person that's talking now? Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. So coming back to this, so I forgot to mention this when I was talking about the variables. Yeah. When naming your variable, you can't just name your variable you can't just start naming your variable with, there are some rules where you have to follow. You can't just start naming your variable anything. Your variable must either start with a letter or an underscore or something like that. But you can't start with a number. You can't start one something like this. It will be an error. It will call an error for you. Let's try it. Goes to boy. See, it's called an error. Say an identifier or keywords cannot immediately follow a numeric literal. So it does not, you can't call this as a, what do you call it, as a variable name. So you can use underscore rather. Let's see, that's yeah, it will work, but it's more advisable to start with a a letter. So let's just take note of that. Okay, so now you might be looking at these different data items that I've talked about. So how do we use this? How do we use this? What do we make out of this? Are we just learning it to be able to write data items, or what? Are we just learning it to be able to write an array, to be able to write an object? What is the use of each of these? You might be asking yourself that. But before we continue, I just want to make sure everyone understands what I've done so far. So do we all understand what I've done so far?
Yes, you do.
Okay, thank you very much. So now,
Hello.
hello, I can hear you.
Yes. Please help me. I I can barely see the words on the VS Code. Can you increase the font?
Okay, yeah, I'll do that now.
Okay.
Okay, settings. Mhm, let me see. Okay, can you see now?
Yes, it's okay now.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out. So now, if we want to use this array, so this stuff I created here, I created it to be able to output things into the screen here. This HTML file I created, so I'll be able to output what I'm doing, what is code. You'll be able to see the solution here. I don't want to be opening the console and putting the console. So let me just do that. So if you want to output this gender, if you want to output gender, you can just say this won't work for you except you have this code that I did, that I wrote here, and the HTML. So, but you can just do console.log. So for console.log, what does console.log does? It logs each of these messages to the console. So before you can, like now, if I want to say this my strings, I want to say I want to say it in the console. I'll just say console.log my strings. So what does this do? What does this do? Sorry for that. What does this do? It outputs this I am a good boy to the console. So let me go back to the site, to the website. Yeah, then I'll open my Chrome developer tool. So to open your Chrome developer tool, you click on Control Shift and I. That's letter I at the same time. Control Shift I. So if that does not work, you can always come down here, then more tools, the developer tools. So that you can see the Control Shift I. If that does not work for you, just click on developer tool. It should open that. Yeah. So now you see elements, sources, console, sources, network, performance. So you go to console. So you see the output there. I am a good boy. I am a good boy. Okay. So now let's say you want to, that's how you want to, and you see I am a good boy was stored in my string. So what did my string do? It just pointed to that file, to where this I am a good boy stored in the memory. Then it gets it from the memory and output it out. Output it. So now how do we access this? Sorry. So mm, wait. Mm. So how do we access these arrays? So to access an array, you will have to call out its index. So what is index? Index is a unique number given to each of these each of these each of these data item. So the unique number or unique identifier given to each of these data items. So you can see that there are six. Yeah, no, sorry, there are five data items in this array. So each of these data item is given a number as it's arranged here, and it's going to start from start counting from zero. It does not start counting from one like other conventional counting starts counting from zero rather. So, yeah, start counting from zero. So when you want to access it, let me access it to the console. So console.log, console.log. When you want to access it, you first write out the name of the variable. That's boys, name of boys. You write out the name of the variable, then the block, the square bracket rather, the square bracket, then write the index. I told you that the index start counting from zero. So Femi, we have an index of zero. Dapo, we have an index of one. Melvin, we have an index of two. Feromi, we have an index of three. Tony, we have an index of four. So if I want to access Tony, I'll just put four here. Then it will look for the data item that has the index of four in this array. So then let's go down to it. So name of boys is not different. Okay, sorry. Name boys. Right? Okay, now see it. So let's see. You can see Tony here now. Tony is down here now. You can see Tony is written here now. So I'm going to collect Tony from the array. I'm going to collect Tony from the array. So you can see that there was an error before. So JavaScript is case sensitive. It's case sensitive. And what does this case sensitive mean? Case sensitive means that an array and a what do you call it? Sorry, a variable name with that has this. Let's say you write everything all caps. Name of boys is different. Name of boys is different from name of boys, and it's different from name of boys. So if you store different items into three of them and you call anyone, if one does not exist, like now, before I called name of boys, yeah, like this. I think I called it like this, and it was not. No, I called name of boys. Yes, I did not capitalize my O. So because it does not exist, such array does not exist. So that's what threw the error. So you need to watch the capitalization and how you write your JavaScript. But in JavaScript uses a syntax of writing which is known as uses a syntax of writing rather. I forgotten the name. Sorry. When I remember it, I'll you'll see it in the slide. I'll guess it for you. Then, but how does it look like? You start with a lowercase, then for each different word, you capitalize the next one. Like now, name is different from of. Name of boys. So name is a word, off is a different word. So you capitalize O, then boys is a different word, you capitalize B. So this is the most common way you see JavaScript being written. The okay, so this is if and there's also a form called Pascal where all of it is written, all of the beginning letter of the word is capitalized. So, but the one acceptable in Python, the one most used in Python is name of voice. That's all. The first word, the first letter of the first word is lowercase alongside others, but the first letter of other words is what they could capitalized of other consecutive words are capitalized. So as I was saying before, so to access this, you must know the index. So what happens when you try to access something that does not exist? Let's say I say 5. I know there's no data item here with an index of 5. So what happens? Let's see that. So what happens? You see undefined. So undefined. So that's what we are coming to now. That's the next data item we are talking about now. So let's talk about undefined. So before I talk about undefined, let me just also show you how to get data in the objects. Okay. Okay. So mhm. So to get data from an object, we the use the name of the object, that's Melvin data. Yeah, take the name of the object. Then you can just do dot the what they call it, the name of the property. So if it's the name we want to access, we will say dot name. If it's the age, dot age. If it's the is boy property, then dot is boy. So let's access the age. So dot age. Then we can put this in the console log. Console log. So we can put it in the console.log. Then that. Log having data is. So let's go. Remove this. Okay. So you can see 19. You can see 19. Yep. Another way, there's a second way to access this in a what do you call it? There's another way to access this property of an object. You can say, let me bring the console.log first. Console.log. Remember, this console.log just logs the item to the console of the web browser. So console.log, then we take the name of the Melvin data, then take the square, yeah, then the name of the property, that should be name. So this should be name. So this should be able to access it like the other one. Yeah, see, it has gotten the Melvin. So let me see if I can. Yeah, you can see the Melvin here. It has gotten the Melvin. So those are different ways to access object items in an object. So coming back to what I talked about. So okay, coming back to what I talked about. So excuse me everyone. So I need to take a 10 minutes break right now. My laptop will soon turn off. So I need to connect it to a what do you call it? To a power source. So for now, go over everything I've taught. Go over what I've shown you. So I'll send a link now. There's a link where you can find these data items. So just go over the examples that is there in that link. Then when I come back, I'll come and talk about everything. So I'm sorry for this disruption. Let me send that link now. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I'll send the link right now.
Yes, you can.
So that I'll be able to some members. So I can, okay, wow, thank God. Let me
Like, share it to the extension, plug it to the extension, right?
okay, so I'm back now. Yeah. So I could not send this link, the link to the chats. I'm not joined. I did not log into the Teams. So I will just add it to the slide. So I'll send it. You guys can check it there. So let's continue. So I was talking about undefined now. Or let me start from undefined before I move to empty. So undefined, and when a variable does not contain an item, it is called it gets should I say, yeah, a default value of undefined. So if I declare a variable, let's say I say var my my name. So I just declared a variable. I told you that to create a variable, you can just declare it, and you can declare before you assign your items. So you declare when you want to create a variable, but you don't have an item to store yet. So now I just declared my variable, my name. So if I come and I access it and I say console.log my name, to give me an output of undefined. See, it will give me an output of undefined. That's script.js28. This script.js28 means that in this script.js file, line 28. So let's go back. So script.js file, line 28. So console.log, it gives me undefined. So if you create a variable and you don't store anything in it, you don't store anything at all, you don't store it in it, then it will add a default value to it, and that value will be known as undefined. So now, then coming to empty. So you can initialize a variable rather. So let's say my num. I can initialize it and just add an apostrophe here, but there's nothing in it. So this also is a string, is a, what do you call it? This is an empty variable. So that is the empty type. That's the empty type. Yeah, this empty that you see here is the empty variable data type. So in here, it is seen, yeah, it is viewed as a string because of the apostrophe, but there is no value in it. But because of you have put this apostrophe, it is no more seen as an undefined variable. So if you start, what this means, like, you have already decided the type of value you want to put in there. Like, you want to put a string in there. If you have already decided that it's a string that will be in this, then this will be the best way to create to declare a variable before you start assigning before you start assigning items to this data items to these variables. So you can come here. Let's console.log is console.log my num sorry my num my num save it, then come and see the output. So you see it's empty here. You can't see anything. Array, that's an empty variable rather. That's an empty variable. So, but you can always come back and add an item. So my num is equal to 098. So let's say my num is equal to 098, and now console log my num again. So you see, at this point of line 30, my num was empty, but at this line 32, my num became 98. So so what this what this portrays that I could update the what this portrays that what I mean is that I could update the value of my variable. And it portrays that variables are dynamic. For instance, this my num that is here. I can still come and change it again. I can change it to a bool, I can change it to a string. Let me just change it to a string here. I'll change it to Emo is a boss. And you see that here, to update it, you see Emo is a boss, true. And what does this do? This just it goes into the variable location. That's empty set. That empty variable was, it puts this 98 in it. Then when it was run for the minor, saw 98 in it. Now put this string in it. Like it replace that number with this string. Then it also replace the string with this bool. And if you try to access it as you go down, it will, what do you call it? It will only be, it will show the most recent value, except if you if it's in different scopes. That's when everything will change. So we are still going to talk about scoping later on. So when we are talking, going to talk about scoping. So yeah, as I'll say, what does just replaces everything. Like, yeah, it deleted 98 and put Emo is a boss, deleted Emo is a boss and put true. So these JavaScript variables are very dynamic. They can only change, except if you want to use JavaScript strict mode, you can always use what they call it. You can use a keyword, use strict. I'm right here. So yeah, it's strict. Let me confirm that. Sorry. One thing that will help you become a better developer is to be able to know how to search for information. If you forget something, you can always go to Google and type it, and you find solution instead of staying on a problem, trying to solve it on your own. Talk to someone or talk to someone or search the internet. The one and there's every chance, every possibility that someone has asked your question before and someone has replied to your question before. So yeah, so I'm supposed to use the apostrophe. Yes, supposed to use the apostrophe. Use so what this does is that it stops. If you use this strict, now you cannot just declare a variable. You cannot just declare a variable. You can't just change things. You start seeing some errors in my. You start seeing some undefined and some things will start when you start. If you use use strict makes you won't be able to change the you won't be able to change the variable. You won't be able to change it anyhow, like you can do now. You won't be able to just declare a variable down because of it prevents you from declaring a variable without using it. Hello, everyone. Oh, sorry, I lost you guys. So, where did I lose you guys? Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. I just found out that I, I, I was logged off. So, someone called, so it shorted my internet. So, where did I lose you guys? Or where did I stop? What is the last thing you guys heard? Hello?
Sure. You're saying?
What's the last thing I said? What is the last thing I said? So I want to know where I lost you guys.
You were telling us about to say some share about your problems when you're stuck.
Okay, yeah. Always don't be afraid to search the internet. Don't be afraid to don't be afraid to search the internet for solution. Don't be afraid to copy codes from the internet. Yeah, you need to understand, you need to be able to understand this code, but don't be afraid to copy them. There's no like there's no like no don't copy my code. It's just that you can't copy someone's old code base and just go and claim it as your own, except if it's open source or something. But always feel free to use the internet when you have a problem, because of this every chance that someone out there has been in the same position you are and has searched or asked that question online, and someone out there had answered the question. So you may find out that you don't need to start troubling one or two person on solving that stuff. The problem might just be a search. The solution might just be a search away from you. So don't be afraid to search the internet for any problem. So going on, I've talked about the JavaScript data types. So now, if you want to know the type of data type you're working with, you can use the type of operator. So to use the type of operator, you just come and say type of, then in a parenthesis, you can just write the name of the variable. Like now, let's say my norm. If I remove use strict, we have removed it. Let me remove it so that you're not confused. Okay. So type of my norm. So I want to console log this. Console the log. So let's see type of as, yeah, see boolean. So it has confirmed that this my norm is now a boolean. So if you want to find the type of my norm after I changed the value, the data item to a string data item, you will see that, let me put it here. Okay, you see that it will come out as a string, yeah. So let me check the data type of this my norm. Yes, yeah, when I set it as an empty, so when I made it empty, so you see that it will come up as a string, because remember I said that making it empty means that we will make it empty by adding that quotes, that quote, either the double quote or the single quote. It's what it just says that, yeah, this is an empty variable, but I'm coming back to put a string into it. But even though, yes, JavaScript is dynamic, you can always change that to a number, but what you're actually saying is that. So for this one here that I do not have value here, that I just declared the variable. So you can see that it is the data type is undefined. Data type is undefined. So you can just try that for all when you write code. If you want to know the data type, for example, let's check the data type of this Melvin data. Let's check the data type. Oh, where did I see type of my name? My name. It's also my name. Sorry. Now this is my name. So this one is Melvin data. So the data type will be an object. So save this one. Let's see. See, the data type of the Melvin data is object. So let me just write something so that just try to make sense. Melvin data is a so you see me using plus here. It's called is I'm using the plus as concatenation, string concatenation. So we'll still be covering that later on. So you can say Melvin data is a object, is an object rather. Forgive my call it, forgive my vocabulary or something. So it's an object. Melvin data is an object. So let's come to the array. Let's see what it will give us. So this is no Melvin data. We don't need Melvin data now, so we just need type of. Let me write it again. Let's write the console dot log. No, you can't. You don't necessarily need to just. We can console dot log any other thing. We can also, instead of just writing the instead of just storing the data item in a variable and try to access it from with the console log. You can also output also output different. You can output strings, you can output numbers, booleans, all this stuff. So now let's check for this. This is what is the name of this again? We called it Melvin data. Remember I told you that that JavaScript is so I told you that Melvin data rather is different from Melvin data. So JavaScript is it looks at the cases, it's focused very well on the cases. So if you write in the wrong case, you will find out that you, you will be getting errors like I did that other time. So let's continue that. So that's type of let's say Melvin data. That's what it gives us. That's really us. Yeah, it will give us an object. So you might be wondering that why is it giving us an object? Is there no difference between this Melvin data and this object? Is there no difference between an array and object? Yes, there is a difference, and array is different from an object, but an array is seen as a type. Is seen as a type of object. So, but an array is different from an object. So let me not dwell much on that. That's not. It's not what something to dwell much
Hello.
on. Hello, can you hear me?
Good evening.
I
I
can
want to
hear.
ask a question.
Okay.
I want to ask a question concerning the object.
Concerning the
Object. Can you go to the object slide?
concerning the object.
Can we include two
Yeah, very good.
Sorry, I can't hear what you're saying.
I said concerning the object part,
Okay, objects.
can you
Yeah.
include yes,
Can I increase?
can we include two variables?
I'm very sorry, but I
Like
can't
now,
really hear it.
can we include two variables?
Can I include two variables?
Yes, can we include two variables? You included variable Melvin data. Can we include another variable? Maybe we have another variable to include.
Is it in this type of?
In this type of object, I mean, must it just be a variable?
Okay, yeah, this Melvin data is a very is a okay. Oh, I get what you're saying. Like, can we add other? Do you mean
Can we
can
like
we
have
add
two variables?
Kunle?
Can we have other variables like variable Kunle data, variable Melvin data on that same object?
Yes, you can. But that
Okay.
is where that will now come like if 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 they are not related, then you can if we are not related, that's where we now bring up the object of object, putting an object in an object. For example, this object here, we can store it in an array. Let's say we want to make another person Kunle. We want to make someone Kunle. Kunle. This Kunle is data. Kunle data. So we can store Kunle. Kunle. How old is Kunle? Kunle is 22. Kunle is a boy. Let's say Kunle is a girl. So we can create another object for our pet, for our people, for our people, and say person one, and put the person as Melvin, Melvin data, person two, sorry, people equals to, so person two, only data. Is this what you mean?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, you can do this. This is what I call object of object. So you're putting an object in an object. You can also do the same thing for an array. So, but when we go deep into objects and deep into arrays, you will start understanding that this stuff you don't need to just do. You don't need to start creating each one by one and just and what do you call it, putting them into the array. You can just create a template, and for each template you can input different values to each template. So we can just create a template and create a new person. Let's say person one. Then we'll just assign it. We just create an inference of that template. Just like this one. Person has a name. Person has an age. Person has this is boy property. That's for Melvin data. Kunle data still has that name, still has that age, still has invoice. This is boy. So we can just create a template, then copy it for all other people. You get? You
yes,
get it?
yes,
Instead of having to
yes,
write
yes.
everything out again. So when we go deep into objects, so we are going to talk about that. So lastly, before we round off, since we are going to be talking about the operators. The operators. So let me create a new script. Actual control. Yeah. You can even want on VS Code, you want to create a new script, a new file. You can use Control N, or you can use this top header here. This first one is to create a new file. The second one is to create a new folder. So let's save it. Give it Control S. Control S is save, open save as. Then you can choose what to save. Let's save it operator operator.js. If you want your file, if you want your computer to recognize a file as JS, make sure you end it with .js. .js shows that that is a JavaScript file. So now let's link that .js to this HTML. So just copy this and Ctrl C. So this shows that you can have multiple scripts attached to one HTML and it will work. Have multiple scripts and it will work. So now so before I finish this, let me just talk about one thing about JavaScript that you will need. You will really need it. That is JavaScript comments. So in JavaScript, there's something called comments. What does comments mean? Comments means if you want to add descriptions to your code, or if you want to stop a particular line of code from being run, you can add this comment to the tag, to the code. So there are different types of comment. There's single line comment and there's multi-line comment. So for single line comment, yeah, I'll just put this, I'll just put the this dash 2 times. This stroke, this stroke here, I'll just put this 2 times. Make sure it's like this. Don't use the front stroke, use the back stroke. So I'll just use the back stroke 2 times, or let's say the right stroke 2 times. If you use the left stroke, it won't work at all. So if I use this 2 times, you'll find out that this code won't run. Let's check it out. 51, this is line 51. So let's check line 51 on our console.log. See, line 51 does not run because of it has been commented out. So, and also you can use comment to add description to your code. Like now, for instance, I can say this, I can say line 52 will check the type of data, line 49, line 48 rather, line 48 variable holds. So later in future, after I've done many things, if I now come back to this file and I want to like work on it, I don't need to start reading everything, like reading to understand. I just need to come and check on my comments and understand. I know if someone comes here and say, oh, so this line 52 will check the type of data. This is simple enough for someone to understand. It does not mean you should start writing story, right? Try to write out your comments in just phrases, words, short words. Make it as descriptive as possible, but as concise as possible. Don't waste words when you are. Don't tell story when you are using comments. So for multi-line comments, you use this. Yeah, we use two right stroke. So but for multi comment, we use one right stroke and an asterisk. For instance, let me comment the whole file. So I'll come here, one and an asterisk. Where is an asterisk? Yeah, this should be an asterisk. So then where I want it to end, I'll put an asterisk first, then my comment again. So this has commented the whole code. If I don't comment everything, if I want to just comment from this to this where I have my var, I'll comment it. Then you see that no code from number 1 to 35 will work again. So yeah, look at it. Everything script starts from 38, 39, 41, 42, 44, 46, 47, 49, 50. It does not start from number 1 to 35. Why? I've commented out all my codes. So none of my code will work. Any code that is commented out will not run. The compiler will skip it. It will just like jump it in passing. Now that I've committed everything, none of it will work again. So now let's talk about operator. So there are
Emmanuel,
yes,
sorry, I have a question. Can you go back to that script.js code? JS code.
okay.
The object code there, like the codes under object. You didn't put semicolon after the curly braces. That doesn't matter.
When you are JavaScript is dynamic in so many ways. For instance, sometimes even if I don't put this JavaScript, you know that once you break a line, it ends that code. For example, if I can write this function on the same line, this function here, this function here, I can write it on the same line, yeah. And if I put the what they call it, the semicolon, it's tell my code that after this semicolon just tells the code that the compiler that this is the start of a new line of code. So if I don't want to put my semicolon, I must start it on a new line. You see this gender, I not put semicolon, I must start it on a new line. I don't put semicolon, I put start it on a new line. I must not put, I must start it on a new line. I not put, I must start it on a new line. So, but before, yeah, like now, JavaScript has different versions. So JavaScript has different versions. So in the previous versions, if you don't put it, eh, your stuff, you start seeing errors. You can't really some things, some things that you don't want to happen. Some things will just be happening in your code. You will not be able to understand why it's happening, but it will just be happening because of it, not end it. But now you can choose to ignore it. But if you want to start writing, if you want to start building more, if you want to start building big apps and all the stuff, you'll be at sometimes that just omitting one can can cause a bug that it will take hours to understand. So now that this my code base here is very small, just 30 something line, there will be sometimes you can write up to 5,000 lines of code, up to 10,000 lines of code, depending on how you want to structure your files. So at that point in time, you will find out what do you call it? You find out that some things might be JavaScript can be very funny because of you did not put your semicolon. So it's advisable to put semicolon, but JavaScript understand when you move to a new line. So if you want to like put everything on the same line, you have to use this semicolon, or like it will read everything as same as just one line. And if it reads everything as just one line and you are putting a var after this, after a data item, it causes an error. So putting my semicolon here it's optional. You can choose to put it here, you can choose not to put it here. But best practice calls for you to put your what do you call it? To put your semicolon after the end of every code, after the end of every code, every line of code. So you're expected to put, but you don't necessarily have to put it after function, but you can also put it. Nothing, nothing spoils really. But best practice calls you to put it. That's why in TypeScript, what does TypeScript enforces all this. TypeScript is a JavaScript. Is a no just TypeScript is an improvement of JavaScript. Yes, it's an improvement of JavaScript. So it works on all this, enforces all these stuffs that all this stuff that I talked about. This using of semicolon, declaring variables. I told you that if you use restrict and you declare a variable, it will show you an error until you use that variable. So what TypeScript does, TypeScript forces you to use this best practices. That's why TypeScript is used in many projects. So
Thank
does that answer your question?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for asking. So let me so so I've commented this one out. So now let me talk about basic operators. So you guys already have seen me using equals to. I've seen me using the equals to. So the equals to. I've seen me using the plus in this code that I've written so far. You saw me using equals to anytime I'm assigning a data item to a variable. You saw me using plus when I was concatenating, when I said something concatenating, I said concatenating a string here. So you saw me using plus here. So I'll explain what each of this did. So let me do that fast. So let me first start with just basic arithmetic. So when you want to in let's see, let me create a variable first for addition. So if you want to add numbers, you just do normal addition. That's 2 plus 2, sorry, 2 plus 3. 2 plus 3, that's addition. Subtraction. Subtraction is 4 minus 3. That should work. That will work rather. So now you may be confused that where will I see, many people you are used to multiplication multiplying with the x symbol, the x sign. So to multiply, well, let's say to multiply. So to multiply, you just you use the asterisk. So 5 times 2, 5 times 5 times 2. That's to multiply. Then to divide, you use the the right stroke. So over divide, that's equals to 9 divided by 3. 9 divided by 3. That's to divide. Then I'm sure everybody must be familiar with this remainder. Remainder, that's modulus. Modulus. I'm sure. Let me ask first. Let me not assume. Are you all familiar with modulus operation? You must have done it in junior. We should have done it in junior secondary school and senior secondary school. So modulus operations. Are you all familiar with modulus operation? Hello, can you hear me?
You were saying?
I said, are you all familiar with modulus operation?
Yes, I am. I am familiar with it.
Okay. So what modulus operation does, to those people that may not be familiar with modulus operation or that need refresher on modulus operation, what modulus operation does is that it divides a number by another number and outputs the remnant of that division. For instance, if I say 5 modulus 2, it divides 5 by 2. So if 5 goes in 2, how many times? 2 times. The remainder is 1. So the answer is 1 because of that's the modulus of 5 to 2. So the same thing, 6 to 4. That's can go in 6 and 4 can go in 6 one time, remaining 2. So the answer, the modulus of 6 to 4 is 2. So it just outputs the remnants. So if I say var remainder, let me say remainder equals to sorry equals to 10. So you use the modulus, you use the percentage sign. So let me use 3. So let me output all of this to the console. So console.log addition log addition. So, subtraction. Sorry, let me just finish everything. You see what? So everything, yeah, JavaScript. JavaScript. I'll not say JavaScript is mathematics, but JavaScript is most of the symbols and the procedures you use in abstract mathematics. That's the mathematics we have been taught secondary school. So divide, okay, and subtraction. And me, so let's see all this. Okay, see. For operator, that the first one is addition 5, 1. This is 6. That's the I think multiplication. Multiplication. Yeah, multiplication 5. Wait, no. Uh, number 5. Sorry. Multiply subtraction. Yeah. Okay. So for 6 is 10. That's 5 times 2 is equal to 10. Okay. For 8, that's divide. Yeah. Divide 9 divided by 3 is 3. And for modulus 10 modulo 3 is 1. That's the remainder of the division is 1. So that's all on the arithmetic. So I don't want to keep us too long. Okay, so I'm just going to share the slide latest tomorrow so that I can add other things that we not talk about today, so that you guys can go through it prior. You guys can go through it in preparation for next class. So I'll emphasize this once again. We are not going to teach you everything. We are going to teach you the bare necessity. We're going to teach you the bare necessity that you need to be able to understand some things. Maybe there are some things that you may find challenging reading on your own. So we expect you to ask questions from what you have read on your own, from what you hear in the class. So on that note, does anybody have any question about today's class, about any of the topic, anything that you did not understand, anything that was not clearly explained, or anything that you are trying to you're trying to
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, can you ask a question?
I think from your JavaScript, where you used to link what's it called? The you use query selector. I want to ask if you could use get element by ID.
Yeah, so that stuff that you saw me do is called is part of the DOM. The DOM is another topic for another day. So I told you to not don't worry about this now, but I trust you guys. You guys are superstars. You can always go through. I'll send you the material that will really help you. It's like a library of to learn code. That's w3schools.com. I really advise you go through it. Use it as a learning guide. A learning guide. Even if you have any other stuff you are learning from, always go to W3 School because of as it has a lot of materials that you can use. A lot of it explains most of many of what you are going to come across your front end journey. So go to w3schools.com, search for JavaScript. then you can just learn it. I'm sure by the time we come back, by the time we are ready to discuss about this DOM, that's document decoration, how to access elements on the DOM, how to access, how to call, how to say all these events listeners, all those stuffs. So by the time we want to do it, many of you, I expect that many of you have gone through it already, and so that you get to ask more question about what you don't understand. Okay. Thank you very much for that question. Okay. Does any other person have any other question? If nobody has any question again, so I'll just thank you all again for attending this class. I want I would like to give you an assignment, but I won't give you a specific assignment. I'll just give you a reading assignment. So I can't send this link now to the what do you call it, to this meeting because of I did not log in. So I did not log into someone asked a question. Okay, someone okay, Bimpe, you are raising your hand. Do you have a question for me?
Yes, I do have a question. How can we access the slides that you use in teaching us?
Yeah, you are on the
How can
front
we
end track, right? You're on the front end track for the you're on the front end channel rather on the Slack,
yes,
right? Okay,
yes,
so I'm going
yes.
to drop it off. I'll drop it off, but it may come later. It may come later, but
Oh,
I can show you that tomorrow before the afternoon you'll see the slide because I want to add more things to it for you so that it will be comprehensive so that next time we meet you will be able to it will just go through the class smoothly and it will be more practical than this. Okay, does
okay.
anybody
Thank you.
else? Okay, you're welcome, Bimpe. Do you have any other question for me? Okay, since nobody has any question, let me just continue what I was saying. So this is the website we are looking for. Let me just open the website from the beginning. That's w3schools.com. w3schools.com. This is where you see then, yeah, you can scroll down, you see HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You can also see all these stuff, but let me advise you, don't try to say I can learn JavaScript, Python, SQL, everything at the same time. If you do that, you're just beating around the bush. You not really understand anything. So that's why for beginners, it's best to focus on one language, one programming language. This CSS and HTML, they are just to me they are minor stuff that you can always look at. So I can't. So they don't really have the core programming the core programming ideologies that JavaScript have. But CSS is becoming more. They are trying to make it more into more more like a programming language. You soon see some things that will come up, some advanced CSS things that will come up. In um, maybe in the group chats because I don't think the group chat will be closed anytime soon. So when if you guys learn more, the more you guys learn, the deeper we will go. The more you guys can learn on your own, the deeper we'll go. So our advice is so you come to this JavaScript, learn JavaScript, click on it, then you will see a lot. So a lot of my what do you call it? A lot of what I'm talking about will come from here, and you can see different topics, syntax, comments, variables, different topics, you name it. You can go from a beginner to a pro with just this and some little help with things that this will not be able to explicitly break down for you. So I would advise you to go, but I'll still put the link on the slide when I'm sending it. So the next stuff we are talking, let me just give you a hint of what we are talking about tomorrow so you can prepare. So we are talking to talk about the functions that I said I put functions here, but we could not talk about it today. So we'll talk about functions tomorrow. Then I'm sure we may just have a glimpse at different methods. There are string methods, different some things in Java, some things in arrays, some things in objects that you really need to understand. So I'll advise you all once again. You see, I'm just emphasizing this. It's very essential for you. We can't teach you everything. We can't teach you everything alone. You have to also put in the efforts to take what is yours. So put in the efforts. Go through this training material. Even if you don't understand anything, just message me. You can message me on the Slack. So, or you can just send a message on the Slack. I'll be going through the Slack. So, if I see your message, I can just reply you. So, my name is Emmanuel Olubi Adeshola. You should always see me on the. You will see me on the Slack. I have, I have the orange star. Yeah, orange star. So anybody that has that orange star is a tutor. Is there's people that you can just send your questions to. Let's say you've gone through it and you don't understand something, you can always let them know. So I'm very sorry for eating into your time. I know you have other things to do, so I would like to end here. So yeah, I wanted to tell you what you wanted to. Okay, yeah, I told you function. Yeah, so read more and wide. Don't just constrict your knowledge. You can read vastly, but also don't try to read everything. Don't try to do many things together unless you find out that you'll not be able to do you'll not be able to do the bare essentials. So I wish you all the best in your programming journey. So I would like to end the meeting here. Okay. So goodbye everyone. See you all next time. That's next week. And let's come early. The next class we might not start late again. We might not start late. We'll start earlier than before. So everyone bye. See you next week.